Here we are with Sunshine. This is her Roadmap to Success video. And when I arrived, she was actually really wonderful. She didn't come running to the door, and she actually stayed in the living room and didn't come in and approach me until I had already walked in. So she wasn't rushing at the door as I expected for such a young puppy. So she's off to a great start. And what the guardians primarily were interested in were some basic obedience commands, how to make sure that she was reliably coming over to them, how to make sure she had better leash manners, which we covered in a video above this, and then claiming the door, just to make sure that she did have good door manners if they were to have guests over, that she would tend to come over and crowd. So I just want to reference the guardians to go to a video in the Doggone Problems website. In the search terms, type in claiming the door, and you'll find hundreds of videos of this claiming the door exercise that we covered today in practice. I would suggest going over the claiming the door exercise about once a day, and for both guardians to play the part of the guest. It works really well if you tell your significant other when you're about to come home ahead of time so you can be ready. Remember, you want to have this be in the most relaxed or the most typical way possible. So if you get a call from your spouse and you're in the middle of something, you might stop what you're doing but play act for a couple of minutes that you are doing it. So you're prepared, but your dogs don't expect that someone's about to arrive at the door. So it's about as normal and typical as possible. You can also ask friends and family when they're coming over already. We're working on a door exercise to make sure that Sunshine has great door manners. Do you mind if this takes an extra second and knock on the door a lot, because we're just working on keeping her outside of the boundaries in the foyer so people can come in and have a nice welcoming dog to staying behind the foyer boundary. So that's one thing that you want to make sure to cover. Another thing that we discussed was going over the sit stay. This is going to help her work on her self-control. So we're first going to increase duration, so the time that she's sitting in one spot. Then we're going to increase distance, and then we'll increase distractions. Remember, every time that you increase distractions, you might have to drop down a level. Say you're up to a minute in duration for a sit stay. When you go outside, out on your porch, that's going to be more distractions. So you might have to drop back down to like 10 seconds and slowly increase it outside, then maybe go to the street, and then so on and so forth to it being more and more distracting, where she can do a full minute in a much more distracting environment, maybe at a Lowe's or Home Depot, a place that's very dog friendly. So that's something I'd recommend to practice. We say 5 for 5, where she can sit in a certain duration, say 10 seconds, 5 times in a row over the course of 5 repetitions of training. Remember, we don't want to practice training any longer than about 2 minutes, aside from when we're working on duration. Then we might necessarily have to go longer, but overall, keep training to about 2 minutes or less, and more repetitions of that throughout the day is more beneficial for the dogs. And outside, you can practice with a high value treat reward, the recall exercise, to make sure that she's learning to come over to you the first time that she's called. Remember, the more crazy you're being, the high-pitched noises you make, going like, "Sunshine!" and being excitable or running away, "She looked up at me," the more likely she will be to come over to you. So you want to make sure that you work on that and reinforce that with treats every time she comes over to you. So that would be how to work on keeping her good recall. We also discussed briefly how to help Sunshine, because she's still young, she's only 7 months old, how to work on not chasing the cats. The cats have been upstairs, and the guardians would like the cats to be able to come downstairs without Sunshine trying to chase them. So what I recommended is some counter conditioning. That's another thing the guardians could search on the website for. Type in counter conditioning, all one word, and you'll see a bunch of exercises. But what it looks like is holding a treat in front of her nose, about 1 inch or less, and every time she looks at the cats, then give her the treat. When she's not looking at the cats, remove that reward, so she starts making a positive association. If she can't sit and take a treat, you're too close to the cats. You have to back up into the point where she can sit comfortably and take a treat. That's our test to say that she's not overstimulated and she's gaining self-control. So first you want to work on, hopefully the cats are in a still position, and then slowly work on them moving about the house with her getting treats while she's looking at the cats. And you can give her several at a time. You might want to put a bunch in your hand and kind of keep giving them to her while she's watching it. And it is always good to have a leash on her, and you want to think about it as an emergency break. You don't want to have to use it, but you have it there in case she were to bolt and jump out of the sit stay or the sit during counter conditioning. But you don't want to be pulling on it unless absolutely necessary, because that might create more resistance to wanting to go and chase the cats by having that kind of pressure on her neck. So I think making sure that the Guardians practice her recall exercise, going out for walks on the, like we saw in the video above, about once a day, and then doing the claiming the door exercise once a day, with both Guardians playing the part of the guests, and I think we'll have a really great success for Sunshine. All right, thank you.